I don't even know if you guys know about this because it got such little coverage, but there was a Zionist guy who just ran through a crowd. No one was killed, but he ran his car through a crowd of protesters. And can you imagine the wall-to-wall coverage if it had been the reverse? If someone who was pro-Palestine had run their car into a crowd of Zionist protesters, Israel supporters? I mean, it would have been Dana Bash, Jake Tapper, Wolf Blitzer, the president, all would have been condemning it. Instead, it was not even newsworthy, according to our media, and certainly not commentary. You know, there were no congressional hearings about it. And we have one more thing to show.
Faculty, of course, we're out here in the Gaza solidarity.
Oh, this is funny. This is like something that the New York Post thinks is really bad, right? This was something that the CUNY faculty did to show their support of for Palestine, right? And their opposition to genocide.
We're CUNY faculty. Of course we support the 5 demands.
We're CUNY faculty. Of course we know anti-Zionism is an anti-Semitism.
We're CUNY faculty. Of course we support the liberation of Palestine.
Okay, now listen to this scary music. I'll read what it says. New video posted to TikTok shows faculty members from the state-funded City University of New York expressing their support for the anti-Israel protests at City College. Look how evil he looks. The participants in the video posted on the TikTok account Left Voice all appear to be speaking from the encampment on City College's Harlem campus. And there you have the 5 demands listed. The encampment is one of the several campus protests that emerged across the country in response to the tent protests at Columbia University in Morningside Heights. Anti-Israel protesters have also swarmed campuses of schools like UPenn. By the way, imagine if they said pro-Israel students swarmed. I mean, right away, people would be accused of anti-Semitism. With many universities, including NYC's Columbia, being forced to call in police to restore order. I love that. They were forced. At Emory University, an economics professor was caught on CNN video being wrestled to the ground and handcuffed by police as dozens of anti-Israel demonstrators clashed with law enforcement. This is so weird. Like, are they that dumb that they don't realize that they're showing something that shows the righteous, just person who's being attacked is on the side of Gaza, not on the side of Israel? Like, yeah, and this has scary music, and it should have scary music, but it's the opposite of what it's like a piece of broken propaganda. Remember that woman? I mean, she was,
horrible.
And I believe that she actually, if I remember correctly, I don't even know if she herself was protesting, but she saw a student being attacked. She's told the officer to stop attacking the student, and that's what they did to a professor. That's what they did to a white professor. So you can imagine how it goes down the various, levels of dehumanized people.
It also really exposes the level of desperation. Really, right now, the fascist response, whether it's here, but also the genocide itself, the imperialist invasions in Iran, what we saw today, the targeting of Hamas officials who were there as part of the ceasefire negotiations in Qatar, the targeting of the global Samud,
flotilla,
Freedom Flotilla in Tunis. All of this. This is coming from desperation. This empire is in decline. U.S. empire is in decline, and so these are, as Gramsci said, this is the moment of monsters, right? This is the moment in between the dying of the old world order and the emergence of a new world order. And this is also, obviously it's a different scale, but this is what we see at the universities as well and across the country, that this fascist response, the repression of students, this excessive use of violence and force. Of course, it's not new. At CUNY, there's a whole history of this, and not just at CUNY, across the country, going back to the 40s and 50s, the Rap Couder investigations, which resulted in hundreds of New York City public university professors and teachers being fired for their, membership in the Communist Party or alleged membership in the Communist Party. In the 60s, CCNY, Brooklyn College, 69, there were the deoccupations, Black and Puerto Rican liberation struggles that, calling for Black and Puerto Rican studies, open admissions, in making sure that CUNY was accessible to the working class Black and brown communities in which the university is embedded. And that also resulted in repression. People faced, all kinds of ridiculous, trumped up felony charges at the time. And now we see it again. Why? Because the student movement is successful. Go back to those videos of the encampment. Of course, that didn't come out of nowhere. It's been happening for years, this kind of organizing, and the Breonna Taylor, George Floyd uprisings, building on the shoulders of the Black and Puerto Rican liberation struggles, indigenous struggles. But, most recently with the genocide and students really calling out, the complicity of their institutions, the propaganda of bourgeois media and the lies manufacturing consent for war. And, they called out the emperor's, not wearing any clothes. And that's why they need to be repressed. So this fascist repression is a sign of desperation. And actually at CUNY, another win, as Hadeeqa said, we have to uplift our wins. CUNY law student Sarah Southey was just successfully sued CUNY for to have our the CUNY's institutional investments disclosed. And now CUNY is going to be forced to. They rejected a FOIL, and now they are going to be forced to, under the law, to reveal those investments. And we are going to, we will not stop, we will not rest until CUNY is divested. And they can try and get rid of us. Like Hadeeqa said, we're not going anywhere. We're going to make sure that this institution lives up to this name it claims of being a people's university.
CUNY has over $1.1 million in weapons manufacturers like Northrop Grumman and Boeing that, that was from records that we've had from years. But now that we have this new FOIL and this new opportunity, I think all of us can say that we would only assume that it's increased, and it's gotten even more because we've seen the stocks of these weapons manufacturers and all of these companies increase exponentially in the start of this genocide, in the most recent genocide. And so the millions of dollars in investments, but also the constant ties, we talk about the ties with NYPD and all these state officials, but there's also on-campus ties with Zionist groups like Hillel that frame themselves as, peaceful Jewish organizations, but they are really there to promote Zionist agendas. And they're there to, further harass pro-Palestine students on campus. And they're the same, groups that are engaging with CUNY in so-called birthright trips and Fulbright trips to Palestine to go settle on more land and call it theirs. So there's so much ingrained investments and bloodshed within what we're doing. And, we have so many campaigns targeted at these different things. I will highlight another recent win, a small one, but a beautiful one, is that at City College, after the encampment was raided, the president of the college, Vincent Boudreau, he thought it was a great idea to take all of that feedback from students and faculty and decide to put a Nestle and Starbucks within the campus and further invest in genocide more. These are companies that have extensive records of investments in genocide and complete war crimes that they have committed, whether it be in Congo, whether it be in the Ivory Coast, whether it be in Palestine. And so we had launched a boycott campaign where we partnered with local businesses and coffee shops in Harlem to both promote the small businesses around us and build those connections in Harlem for Black businesses, for young small businesses, but also as a means of boycotting our university and the coffee shop on campus. And we ended up getting divestment from that. They saw that we hit we hit them where it hurts, which is in their pockets. And so that ended up getting foiled, and we got that business out, which was, I think, a really good model to frame collectively how we want to move forward, which is that it's shown us how much power we do have. I think a lot of us see all right, what's one, missing out on Coca-Cola going to do, or what's one protest going to do, or what's one, teach-in going to do. But it really is we're putting in the work and it's making a difference. And I just really want to highlight that it does matter and it's working. And so at the moment we are currently both in, I think Corinna and I are both in appeal processes. I had appealed to initially the president of City College to drop all the charges against my suspension, which were bogus, and he denied it, which I would like to also state, the history of that, which is that Vincent Boudreau is somebody who has built a career, who has profited off of this aesthetic and this brand of activism. He has framed himself in his career, in every book that he's written, as this revolutionary who is so, so bold and supports resistance and supports protest. And he himself also has bragged several times about the fact that he was arrested over 20 times during his time in undergrad at Cornell University for setting up encampments and protesting Cornell University's complicity and investments in South African apartheid. He's the same college president who called the cops to brutalize us. He's the same college president that has denied my appeal, who had decided to suspend me. He's the same college president that is continuing to make such repressive decisions on the student movement while he actively, parades around this banner of being such a, amazing revolutionary activist. I think it's so telling of exactly what we're working with, right? We have people within the institution that is literally funding and profiting off of a genocide, claiming and trying to co-opt these phrases like revolution and resistance, but we know that that really lies in the hands of the people. And so we're collectively taking my case and escalating it to an appeal to the Board of Trustees. And so it's currently in appeal stages with them. And in October, we're going to have another Board of Trustees meeting to push and call for them to drop all of the charges against me. For me, I will say personally, I wear this like a badge of honor. I am not in any way, regretful. I am more than fine. It is an honor for me and for all of us to sacrifice for Gaza. I inshallah can get to claim that I stood on the right side of history, and that is something that I'll continue to work towards. But in order to make sure that they don't get away with this repression and to make sure that it doesn't further escalate, we are challenging this now. And so we're going to continue to do that both with my case and with all of the open cases that unfortunately we're seeing every day. Corinna and I are checking Signal, and there's more and more situations happening where we're like, oh my God, we got to start another campaign now. So with mine and with Corinna's, we're in appeal stages. And so now is the time to put pressure on the university, one, to drop these charges and end this repression, but also 100% in the name of divestment, and in the name of divesting from the over $1.1 million in weapons manufacturers that are murdering Palestinians on a daily basis as we speak right now on the 703rd day of a genocide, with over 400,000 Palestinians being murdered.